Hello, everyone, and welcome to our reception slash panel slash talk back, whatever you want to call it. My name is Lauren Cook. I am one of the board members of NewGal, and I'm having trouble figuring out my lighting in my house, so I apologize if some of my head is gone at some point. So I just want to quickly give some logistics for how our, half an hour, 40 minutes, however long you want to be here before bedtime is. If you are in the audience, you are welcome to use the Q&A function, and you can put your questions in there if you have them, and I will be doing my best to monitor that. Some questions, if they are easily answerable by any of our wonderful panelists in the text box, they can go ahead and answer that. But we'll just keep an eye on that as well. Throughout the evening, there will be some links that we'll throw in the chat for you. And also you probably notice that the live transcript or closed captioning is on, and I will also put instructions in the chat for everyone if you choose to turn that off. So, but we'll start with our artists and musicians and composers, just with a general question to get you all started. I know for many of you, this was the first time that you got to see your work performed with art, or seeing Scott's and some of our other videographers putting their work together, and seeing dance and music lined up for the first time. So if anyone of you would like to chime in with your first impressions, anything that you would like to share, please go ahead, unmute, and we'll talk through the program a little bit.
Can I go first and just say
yes, Karl, please.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Incredible, amazing stuff. Ramiro, oh my gosh, you burned my house down. That's all.
So Karl, actually, I'm going to jump in here. So I know I want to explain to everyone that Karl, trusted me with his arts. He was intimate with each of the pieces. He gave me works that he thought would go best with what, and then he said, "Bye, have fun with that." So this was really the first time he saw what we did, putting it all together. And I'm curious, I'm so glad you're happy, but was there any experience or observation that you had that surprised you, or that resonates the strongest with you, or
oh gosh, is this for me?
Yeah, I can go for all of you, but I'm starting with you.
Okay, that was my mistake for speaking up first. I think the thing that I want to say is as remarkable as each result was in terms of the merging of music and visual and the things people had to say and the dance performance, just the incredible quality of all of it across the board was just so kind of overwhelming, honestly. So I may have said thank you, but thank you.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to keep you on the spot for one more moment.
Geez. Okay.
Could you just talk a little bit about your art making? Because I know you talk a lot about the musicality of it. Could you just touch on that, and then I'll leave you alone? Maybe.
Well, you see, the thing you don't want to do is get me started talking, because no one else will get any oxygen. I think the thing that helped my work be a contributor to this amazing result is that I'm trying to do something that isn't really done. You can't make music with color, and yet people respond to color in sometimes ways that are sometimes similar to the way they respond to music. So I'm exploring, I'm extending myself, I'm trying to extend my work to sort of challenge those boundaries between visual art and music, and sort of our responses to those. So that's what I'm trying to do, and having it be able to seeing it integrated into this setting is what's so gratifying. It's what I do is improvised, and a lot of, not all, but a lot of what happened, what everyone could see tonight was improvised, and so I think that helps. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm answering the question.
Thanks, Karl. Would anyone else like to chime in with their first impressions of seeing their work all synthesized together? Go ahead. Okay, you guys are being tough. I will. Eden, yes, Eden, I'm so glad you raised your hand. I'm curious, you were the one who was in the studio perhaps the longest, so I'm so curious to hear from you about your experience of sort of doing the opposite of what we saw in some of the other pieces. We brought the music to the art studio in your instance.
Yeah, it was just walking into Karl's studio after, especially just after this year we've had, was such an incredible experience. And it was like you opened the door and this flood of beautiful colors. It was like this garden of light. It was incredible. And in fact, when I brought the picture, I took pictures on my phone while Aaron was taking really beautiful pictures with his camera. But I came home and I showed the photographs to my kids, and my daughter, who's not asleep yet, she's too excited. She said rainbow house. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. It was like walking into a rainbow house. And watching the film tonight with the music and seeing the colors pop onto the screen like that, it really reflected that feeling to me. So I just thought it was gorgeous. Scott, it was so beautiful. Everybody, all of the different contributions, but it was just so beautiful to see Karl's work just shining through like that in that beautiful, vibrant way with the music. It felt like the music and the art were just sort of like reflecting off of each other. It was incredible. And the dance, it was so powerfully beautiful. Thank you all.
Rainbow House is the title of an up and coming painting of mine. I just haven't made it yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Eden. Ramiro, I would love to hear a little bit about your experience listening to Cliff's piece. How I think one of the first things I thought was, oh my gosh, there's costume changes. And I'd love to know a little bit about your decision-making process, how you chose these different colors, clothing, your movements. What is that process like for you?
So at first, it was a bit challenging, to like figure out what I was gonna do at first and what kind of movement I was gonna do to the music. And like I like a challenge, so it was like I was like, okay, let me try to figure this out. And I thought of like, adding storyline to each and every piece. So like I felt like, adding a storyline gave it like a different character, different, different gear, to put on, like just to give it that different feel. And yeah, like as far as the visuals and everything and like how everything was put together, I was like, just whoa, like, like the whole time, like, like in a trance, yeah, it was beautiful. Everything was beautiful. It was really nice. Very, very well put together. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the fact that I was able to be inside of a theater again, like, oh my goodness. I mean, despite not having the audience there, but I had, Sarah, a few other, we had a little audience, but yeah, it was wonderful to step back in the theater and be able to, just do what I love and share that. So like, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Cliff, I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on what you've seen tonight. And is this the first time you're seeing everything synced up together?
Yeah, this is the first time I saw everything, like the full production sort of in place. And when I learned that Ramiro was going to be dancing for it, I immediately sort of went on Facebook and like creeped on him really hard, you know, like as one does. Sorry, Ramiro.
Here.
But no, I mean, not sorry. I'm not sorry at all, actually, to be honest, because it was a really pleasurable experience, and there's so much energy. I highly recommend everyone go on to Facebook and check out what's up there. There's a lot of this really like I think Ramiro calls it like buck wild. Like I think that comes up a bunch of times in the post in terms of the things, and there's a lot of energy going on.
Oh, crumping.
Grumping. Yeah, exactly. That too. Yeah. It's like, it's like on some level, like, you know, when you first see this, and then I think about this piece that is like kind of really quiet, weird, creepy music on some level, right? That, you know, like how do those fit together? And for some reason I was just like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like I know this. I know he's going to do something amazing, and I was not surprised that he did something amazing in that way. But I'm really sort of taken by how it turned out, because it's like he's brought all this energy to it, but then the sound is really low. So it's like there's something happening in front of you that you're seeing, and it's disconnected in terms of the audio and such. I think was sort of my first reaction in some way, and that's really like to sort of steal something that Karl said. It's like the oxygen has been sort of sucked out of the room on some level, and it has this really, I don't know, I just found it really visceral, like especially the end, like the fact that like how you kept dancing at the end of the music, really, that was perfect. Like that was that moment where you're just sort of like, yes.
Thank you.
Because I part of the whole, I mean, the last thing I'll say is like part of this whole piece for me, when I originally wrote it for Castle of Our Skins, was that it was kind of about trying to write something that wasn't really about me. And so for me, my experience of tonight was that it was very much about Ramiro, and also the musicians involved as well. And that's sort of a perfect scenario for myself, where I get to enjoy the music and sort of, you know, at least maybe for brief moments forget that I wrote it, you know, and sort of just be there, because otherwise, you know, being a composer and listening to your own music is sort of like, like it's just like, it's hard to let go of that. And so Ramiro, thank you for letting me let go of that with your performance. That's what I would say. So yeah, no, you.
Thank you, both of you. It seems like beginning of a great possible future collaboration. And I want to, speaking of collaboration, there's a lot of people in this room who have been collaborators for a long time, or have been collaborating in more intense ways, albums and things. And actually, so my question, Sarah, Aaron, Trant, and Jonathan, is, so I love that this piece was initially written for Sarah and Aaron's wedding. And my first thought was, if I ever get married, please do not make me also perform at my wedding. And I love, Jonathan, in your notes, your program notes, you say, who knows what they're actually going to be, feel like doing on the day of. So I'm curious how the performance for this program may have been different from what you remember of the original one, and a little bit more about the collaboration that brought us this piece. And of course, Laurie, there she is. Your screen was right next to me. I lost you, and we now have this segue between two pieces. I'd love for you guys to talk a little bit more about that.
I'll just say that, like, when they asked me to do this, I was like, really? You're gonna play? At your wedding, like, that doesn't make any sense. Honestly, I don't really remember. That was like so long ago also. So like this was awesome. I was so glad that you guys did it again, and you guys should play together. Like you should do a thing. Yeah. No, it was really fun though. Thank you for programming it again. It's, one of those things you never expect that if somebody says write a piece for my wedding, that is actually a thing that they're gonna like come back to. It's sort of like the dress. It's like it happens and then it goes away. So I'm excited that you pulled it back out, and I hope you keep playing it.
Definitely. It's a staple in our repertoire.
Nice.
I just want to jump in and say how much I enjoyed hearing that, and that Jonathan, I already wrote this to Jonathan in a private text, but he has so many things he can do and he does them all so well. And what I mean by that is when we write music, we sometimes get pigeonholed into, oh, they're this kind of composer or that kind. I envy people who can sort of put different hats on and write in so many styles. So hats off to Jonathan and Sarah and Aaron. I love that you guys played that at your wedding too. It reminds me of your good friends David and Tanya, who played at their wedding and had a whole Brandenburg concerto thing going on.
Okay.
I just want to talk about the segue briefly. As an improviser, one of the things, I sort of see that as not just like kind of making up something on the spot, but really trying to figure out what my role is. And I really tried to tie Laurie's music into Jonathan's music. And hopefully that was successful, but the thought process there was really trying to make a connection between the two pieces that almost make it seem like it's one cohesive piece because of the transition from one to the other. So and there was a lot of really great, Jonathan's piece obviously I knew very well because I had to play it for a wedding. But Laurie's piece I didn't really know that well, except just hearing Sarah practice it and then listening to it over and over again. So it was really nice to kind of have that in-depth study to it with it, and hopefully be able to connect the two in a way that I think might not work, because there's obviously two completely different pieces that had nothing to do with each other originally, and so I'm sort of in a way trying to contrive a way to make them connect. But I think there's material there in both pieces that do make them connect, and I think at least I feel like that I found that connection between the two. So
I think you found the connection.
Great, thank you so much. Michael, there is a question for you from one of our audience members. So I will go ahead, I'm gonna read it out loud so that everyone can hear it. It's from Debbie, and she asks, your piece was very uplifting and inspiring to me. It being related to depression was not evident, but it made me joyous. Is that an awkward interpretation to you?
That's fascinating. I don't think it's necessarily like okay. I guess on some level, like I'm just happy that my music connects. I'm someone of the opinion that like my interpretation of my work is just one of many valid interpretations. And so I think that, what matters most is that it elicited some connection in you. I wish I could hear more about, I want to hear more about that, because obviously like I don't feel that when I hear that piece. I wasn't intending to, that was not my intention in what I was trying to evoke. And so the fact that your response to it is so opposite of what I want and expect is kind of awesome.
Molly, do you want to chime into that? Do you feel joy when you sing? That piece.
Sure. I don't know if I felt joy when I was singing that song though. But I think that's really neat. And I also just want to speak to the question Lauren had kind of at the beginning of what it felt like to see the art combined with it, because of course this was the first time I was seeing that. And the song has it starts so so powerfully, and I could certainly see that beginning as uplifting. It's kind of explosive, and to have the images right there in the timing was really, really cool and awesome. So, so in terms of, again, your question of like whether that's an awkward interpretation, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's kind of beautiful to just go with your first impression. Maybe I wasn't articulating the pronouncing the words clearly enough, because it is kind of a dark. The words are pretty dark, but I think, yeah, the music has a variety of feels going on in it.
And just so people know, the program, in the program notes, the poem is there, if you want to see the words there. But I also want to interject, because I want to give a super shout out to Scott Quade right here, who I mean, yeah, who's been with me this whole season, and as you heard in my intro, like so very patient. I just want to say, especially with the first piece from the nursery, you know, it was interesting. And Scott, I promise I'll let you speak. But, you know, I was very like, okay, Karl gave us a progression, a development of how this work was constructed. So that was very clear. We're going to start from the beginning and end. And then I said to Scott, okay, between the beginning here and here, I want this progression to this point. And then I'd like these words to pop up. And at the end, I want these words to pop up in a different color. And then I want this to happen really quickly in here. So I gave him this like general map. And then he just took that and made it better. His musicality in his videography work is stunning, because yeah, the part where I said, make it rapid, yay, but he did it so musically and so in a way I wasn't communicating. And I'm so grateful for like the idea of, from Karl saying, let's do a progression, to me being like, okay, here's how the progression is going to work. And to Scott then like putting it in so artistically. So I don't know, Scott, if you want to complain about how I was like, can you do this now? And but yeah, mad props to you. And for all of the works. I mean, we worked on Ramiro and Clifton and Karl's, putting the book page in between, and how what set where, with me giving ideas, but then there you go. And then you coming back with that better. I mean, I'm so grateful to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I'll Venmo you later. So, no, and I owe you. Sarah and I have worked together for many years, and like with this concert and the last couple that have been virtual, she sends me an email and she kind of has like an idea in her head of what she wants, and then but like Cliff's piece, like we filmed that 6 months ago. Yeah. And
the music we filmed 6 months ago, right?
Yeah. And so at the time, obviously I didn't know the work that Karl was going to send over. I had no idea that there was going to be a dancer that was also to be incorporated into that. For Michael's piece, all of the artwork that Karl sent over was awesome. Typically in the video, it's a 16:9 frame, right? And so in the artwork that Karl sent over is very tall and skinny. So, it doesn't fill that entire frame.
It's not helpful, Scott, I know.
Yeah. Well, so I was just like, so there's a lot of black space. And so that's when I kind of got the idea of when Sarah kind of wanted a rapid succession of photos to kind of just, put forward on a screen and just kind of utilize that whole, canvas. So yeah, and when I get all the elements, then when I'm in the editing, kind of ideas start coming to mind, and then we just go back and forth with Sarah, and yeah, that's how all the magic happens.
It was amazing, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, I almost cried.
Yeah, I want to second that. I've been totally blown away by all of the NewGal online concerts, just totally blown away. And I think that what I heard is that Scott's been involved with all of them, and really, you are an amazing artist. And I just want to say a shout out to everybody tonight. I think the vision, the creativity in both the music and the visuals that these online concerts, these NewGal online concerts, have just been amazing. Like the piece with the dancer, where we could see the dancing, we could see the art, we could see the musicians, all of this superimposed on each other. I mean, it's just fantastic. So thank you. It's been an honor to be a part of it. And just like Sarah, keep up the good work, and everybody else.
And sorry to introduce you, Molly. Molly is the leader of Jaggery, the band. I realize we know that, but I don't know if all of you know that. Hers is the beautiful voice we heard, and hopefully she'll be back to have some more music on New Gallery in the future soon. Some of her own music. We've got Michael's tonight.
That actually, Sarah, is such a good segue for me. Michael and Molly, I did have a question for you both, or one of you. In terms of collaboration, you all have now collaborated a bunch on an album, and I would love to hear more about how you sort of found that the fit, and what is it when you hear someone else's music or someone else's art that makes you say, yes, this is a person or this is a group that I know is going to work really well with what I do.
Yes, Molly, do you want me to start? Okay. I say that I'm not sure I can answer the question. Yeah, I mentioned Molly. I met Jaggery when we worked together on a theater piece. There's a group in Somerville called the Post-Meridian Radio Players, and they do live performances of radio plays with like live music, live Foley, and entirely separately. Like the director asked me to write the music for it and told me that he had found this band called Jaggery to write to actually perform the music. I'm not sure how Jaggery felt about it, because you guys are used to, at the time, like you guys were used to writing your own music. You know, I just wrote music, and so I went to a couple of concerts of theirs and was blown away. And they handled, like, I am not an easy composer to perform, as Molly well knows, and they mastered it. And so I thought, okay, like, and I love their sound. Like I'd been like, you know, I was raised in contemporary classical music, but, you know, I wanted to be a rock star, and this was writing music for these guys was as close as I could get. So yeah, I don't know if you want to jump in with your perspective, Molly.
So as Michael just said, we met him when my band Jaggery was somehow hired to be the house band for this unusual radio play, and we didn't even meet Michael at first. I think we just got the mute, or I don't know. This was years ago. It's hard for me to remember, but I just remember the music, and there was no vocals. It was all instrumental.
No, that's right. Yeah, it was all instrumental.
Yeah, and it was just like, this is really cool music. This is, you know, we're doing stuff in odd time signatures and with neat, moody feels. And so we just kind of kept in touch with Michael. And we were excited to do the Having It Out project. It was definitely the most challenging project I've ever been involved in. He worked me very, very hard, but I'm proud of myself for having been able to do it.
I mean, you killed it.
Molly or Michael, will you put the link to your album in the chat so people can buy it?
Sure.
It's so awesome. It's just so great.
And I believe it's also in the program notes. I believe there's a page about it, and there are a bunch about it in the program notes, which is also in the chat.
Yeah, and likewise, Karl, please, if you want to put your website so people can reach out to all of you. It is in the program, but, you know, people like to click here too. So please feel free to do that.
And I do have one question for Karl. I know you're going to be excited to be on the spot again. Hi, Karl. This is Eric. I noticed that the art you chose for the string performance were all canvases that featured elongated vertical forms. Did you feel that would reflect the feelings evoked by the string piece, or was there a different interpretation?
Eric's question makes reference to the string performance, which is Tiafaka, or I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but Nicholas Lobos' sculpture was the original source. And the work that I did for that was live painting, of which some is in the edit, along with Ramiro's dancing. So I'm not clear on which episode of this performance Eric is asking me about. And I know Eric, so I'm going to respectfully ask him to clarify the question. All the work, or maybe the short answer is all the work was selected to go with the music, whether I was painting live or whether I chose work from my existing work to in the case of Aaron and Sarah's performances of Jonathan and Laura's compositions. So maybe that's a better answer. Thanks, Eric, for putting me on the spot.
Oh, I have a clarification. The performance I'm referencing is the music performed by Eden.
I did not select that artwork.
Oh, so it's then we have a plot twist. It's a question twist. Perhaps for Eden, if there was what you chose to include or.
Well, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a collaboration and kind of left to chance. Yeah, we went to, so Aaron and I, we had this critical window when my mom was in town, and so we knew we had full-time care. She's staying at our house. We had full-time care for our kids. So I was like, all right, this is our window. So the first Saturday she was here, we went to Karl's house, Karl's studio, and visited for the first time and met Karl for the first time. And like I said, we're just so blown away by the beautiful colors in his work. And we talked with Karl, and I just kind of walked around. So the little intro segment that you might have seen before the musical performance of the piece was from that first day when we were wandering through the studio, and I was looking at all the work. And you could not have asked me to choose one or two paintings to work with. It was impossible. It was absolutely, completely impossible. They were all just so beautiful. It was, and for me, honestly, the most powerful experience, I think, was just that immersive experience of being in the space among all of them. So I kind of pointed out some of the, I would say, the themes in the artwork that I from my perspective, caught different themes in the artwork. Some with, vertical. I love those elongated, like stained glass windows. To me, they look like. And Karl and I talked about other paintings that had X's in them that I believe were reminiscent of an Irish pub. One of them, right? The Snuggery. Correct. Remember you mentioned that. So there was a little Irish, that's where the inspiration for the jigs came from. Oh, thanks, Ida. So it was all tied together, and it just kind of, so I pointed out some things that caught my eye, and then Karl, as soon as we left, Karl created this beautiful wall for me to stand in front of. And then all week long, I put that up on my computer as my screensaver and my background, and I would just like look at it and improvise. And I kind of came up with this poem, and I came up with some musical ideas and tried a bunch of stuff. And it was actually interesting. The day of the day that we filmed it was a week later. We went back, and it was the first day of spring, and that was significant in the middle of all of this, to the idea of manifestation. Like, finally, spring is coming. Thank goodness, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it someplace, you know. So, but it was interesting being in the studio that day, having stared at this wall of artwork, and now suddenly I was standing in front of the wall of artwork, and I couldn't see the wall of artwork. So I was playing, and I was like, oh. Where is it? It was really interesting, and I couldn't have chosen one painting, and I couldn't have chosen one. So I was glad we had a chance to meet and chat and just sort of dive into the whole beautiful garden of art together.
The music was beautiful.
I know, it is so hard to choose. I was jealous. I think we all need a field trip to the Rainbow House.
I have had my shots, so you all are welcome to come and visit together.
Excellent.
I'm coming back. Come on soon.
Down. Come on by.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much. Yes, our wonderful questioner sends his thanks for the wonderful answer. Thank you all so much for joining us. And if you do have any other questions for our artists that come up as you're marinating on tonight's wonderful program, feel free to email us at NewGallery and we will get your question to the right person. We can do that for you. And as always, stay tuned for information about our next season, TBD, but news coming hopefully soon. And thank you again so much for joining us.
And do know for all of you ticket holders that the show is available. You can watch it again and again through Monday. And then in a couple months, there will be another way to make it accessible to you all. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.